everyone, and welcome to today's show, the Beautifully Bruised and CPS show. I am your host, Latrika Jones. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Welcome to Monday, right? Monday motivation. I know how important that can be dealing with life and things that life be lifing. Let's just be honest with each other, right? And sometimes we just need some encouragement. Sometimes it's just good to hear someone else's truth, to know that what you're going through, you're not going through it alone. You got other people that's going through the same thing, and sometimes even worse, right? So we just thank God to allow us to see another day to make it through whatever it is that we're going through, whatever season we might be in. Anybody know before I start my show, I always give credit and honor where it's due to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him I would be absolutely nothing. So I always want to honor him, honor God, and let him know my appreciation, because again, a lot of people didn't make it to see today. You have a lot of people that went in the hospital last night, or something unfortunately happened to them, and they're not allowed to be alive to see a new day. So to me, I see a new day as new grace, new opportunities, another chance to get it right, to get things back to where they need to be. God is giving us another chance. That's why we get brand new grace, brand new mercy every morning, because it's needed, right? So with that being said, without any further ado, I am so honored to have a guest that's going to be on the show today. His name is Sergio, and Sergio's story, to me, when I first heard it, it really touched my heart, and it really compelled me to want to bring him on, because I do believe what he's going through, sadly, a lot of families experience, right? Dealing with CPS. I do believe iron sharpens irons. I do believe that transparency transforms. And I do believe the more we come out, go forth and sharing our stories, not only is it helping to make us better, to know how to fight our CPS cases, or once I had a CPS case years ago, I knew when I plugged into hearing other stories and gaining knowledge, it helped me to be stronger and more equipped to be prepared to know how to fight and win my CPS. And by the grace and mercy of God, I did win my CPS case years ago, where the judge ordered my child to be back home where he belonged, and that's where he's been ever since. Thank God. So with that being said, I want to bring on Sergio's story, because I do believe, I love the drive and the fight he has inside of him, because I do see if he keep doing what he's doing, then God will also bring his children back home where they belong. So without any further ado, Sergio, I just want to say thank you and welcome for being a guest on our show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, no problem at all. And without getting any, just going right into this, Sergio, I'd like to ask you, what is it, after you've experienced what you've been through with CPS, what made you want to share your experience and your story with us today?
Well, I mean, just so people can know that um, there, that a lot of people don't things don't go the way that they want them to go. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that happen, like you just said right now. You were blessed to have your child back. A lot of people don't run with that same those blessings, and so there's help and there's hope.
Yes, it is.
When these things happen. So I like to share this my story because to help people, and they know, so they can know that, you know what, there's other people going through the same things that I've gone through, that I'm going through. And
Absolutely.
well, I mean, I can share that what I went through, and maybe someone can benefit from that, and then open their eyes with a lot of things that happen with CPS. You know that CPS is not always uh, a friend, like sometimes they try to be, or you know they lie and do a lot of things that are not right.
That is so true, Sergio. That couldn't have been said any better. I think that is the myth and the mystery, that a lot of people think that, and I did too at one point in time. I thought CPS really was about just, bringing help to children to restore and rebuild and replenish, and that's why knowledge is power, because if you don't know, you'll easily go along with whatever is said, right? And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So that's why I do believe God allowed me to go through CPS, because again, like I just mentioned, I just thought CPS only stood for good. Now, let me also add this disclaimer, because I personally know And the only reason why I'm saying this is I do know people that work for CPS that definitely has integrity, that definitely has the true intentions on reunifying parents, once they see that the children need to be returned home and the parents are doing, proving that they deserve the kids to be returned back home, right? So I'm only speaking in reference to the CPS caseworkers or anyone that's affiliated with CPS who lacks integrity, who lacks doing the right things, because statistics show a child or children are normally better off when they're in their own environments with their family, or the family friends or someone that's close to the family versus being in the foster care system. So if you know the right thing, why not do the right thing? Get these children back home where they belong. And with that being said, Sergio, can you please share what is it that have stood out with you with CPS? Have you noticed that maybe some things, because I've seen caseworkers sometimes that lacks integrity, let me say, they may lie, they may withhold the truth, they might not disclose what needs to be said, or documentation might not even be worded correctly. Have you ever experienced a CPS worker that lacked integrity, that may have lied or not been honest about what really occurred?
I have. I have. I mean, in my case, the caseworker, when I met with her, she was one person. The person that I was talking to, she acted a certain way, like she was trying to do the looking out for the kids in the best interest, and
Mhm.
I was in programs and stuff like that, that I had to do. But when we went to court, she would have a completely different attitude. Like she was recommending for removal of my kids. And when that was a different attitude from when we used to talk, when we were talking, one.
Wow.
So and she got, well, she lied a lot in the court. She lied a
Wow.
lot in court, and just produced or got witnesses to say things that weren't true. And since the beginning, my family plan had a bunch of lies,
Mm.
and so when I asked her about that, she said that that's what the information that she had gotten. And I
Really?
said, well, the family plan, you're supposed to ask me about what's going on with me, if I have any criminal record, anything like that. You have to ask me. And she said, well, that's what they told me. So she went, I guess, against the people that had started the case, and
Hmm.
got her info from her and put that in the family plan, because according to
Oh
her,
my God.
extensive criminal record and a bunch of things like that I had to prove throughout the case, that wasn't true. But still, at the end, she kept adding and adding things that weren't, and that's how that case went.
I'm
So
so glad you shared that, Sergio, because I tell anybody, and I did the same thing myself once I caught on to what was really being done. I recommend people take notes, keep a journal, keep as much documentation, record as much of your own documentation, as you can, because like you just shared, and I also experienced that as well. Sometimes what they say is not always the truth. Sometimes sometimes they stretch the truth, or they change it, or they change the story completely around, or use your words in a different way from what you initially meant to say it as. So I think it's very, very important for your own self um, care, and for your children, that you keep a record of what's been said, how it was said and when it was said, because you might have to refer back to that. Like you just mentioned, she was taking, basically it seemed like, documentation from something previously. I don't know if it was true or not, and that's what she was using to move forward with you with your case. And to me, that shouldn't even have been included. Why not speak to you first to validate that this information is correct and go based off of that? But like you said, and I've heard from CPS workers that work for CPS that say they have such a huge amount of cases that can be so overwhelming. Okay, a large amount of cases of, unfortunately, so many families that's in dealing with CPS, that they might not even have the time or the manpower to work through each individual case to get down to see what the truth is, what needs to be shared, and what it's not even relevant anymore. So they might just go off of previous history. So that is a great point that you've mentioned. Where are you right now with your case, with your children? Where are you right now in the proceedings? Are you fighting to get your rights back? Are you, can you kind of just share with us, where are you at right now with fighting to get your children back home?
Right now I'm on appealing. I lost I lost custody.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Thank you. These lies kept getting bigger and bigger. More
Wow.
happened, and witnesses came and said things, and I lost them. And since the mother wasn't there to, to say to deny any of these allegations, it was just me against them. And then
Wow.
everyone just turned against me. The Casa, which is the advocate for the kids.
Right.
Everyone just so that's how it happened. So I'm on appealing the case right now.
Thank
I
God. I'm glad you are appealing it.
to I'm doing right now the brief.
The briefing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you also, what has your experience been like with CASA?
With Casa, well, I they were going out there to see about my kids. When I spoke, I was talking to them all the time, and
Hmm.
any concern that I had, they went out there. So that's the only people that were helping me during.
Okay.
But once they did help me. They were the ones that were telling me how my kids were, because um, I struggled to get visitations at the beginning.
Hmm.
I was going through a hard time. My caseworker, she wanted me to put motions to see my kids since the beginning, and sadly, my lawyer, she also wasn't helping me, so I had to get another lawyer, and
Okay.
that one wasn't helping me either. There were court appointed lawyers, so
Oh, okay.
you know uh, that was one of the biggest things, that my counsel, I had ineffective counsel. So
Wow.
that led to that as well. But I mean, Casa is they help me.
They did help you. Okay. Well, that is good to hear that. So when you mentioned that you had, was it two court appointed attorneys that didn't really obviously seem to be effective with, getting your kids back? Another point statement I'm glad you mentioned as well. I recommend anyone that, if you can, I strongly recommend you seek wise legal counsel. We're on Attorney Vince Davis' platform. I know he's been fighting for our children from CPS for 40 years or longer. So I strongly recommend you have wise counsel that knows CPS laws, that are aggressive, and that is willing to do the work effectively and consistently to make sure your children are returned back home. Like I said, the reason why I'm sitting in front of you today, it is because I have personally been through what you've been through. I know the pain, I know the hurt, I know even for some the shame, but I do know God can turn anything around. There is nothing too hard for God. Even when it looks like what you're doing all that you can just to stand, and it seems like nothing is moving, nothing is working. But I tell you, I assure you, I am a true witness. If you keep your faith planted in God, it could be the last minute of the hour before you look up, all of a sudden things begin to turn around for the good in your favor. So I say that to encourage you to not give up, keep fighting for your kids. To me, you're already showing that you are a father that's willing to do the work, and that speaks volume to me. And you're willing to take the necessary steps, because even when I spoke with you previously, you did share that you have hired an attorneys, and unfortunately, I'm gonna be real, all attorneys are not effective, right? That's the reason why I recommend someone like Attorney Vince. He created a platform for families like us to come on here to share our stories, to hopefully gain knowledge, to hopefully get the wisdom and the discernment that we need to be effective with fighting to get our children back. That's the reason why he does it as a successful lawyer, why he's been doing it 40 years, right? To help these families be the discord, so these families will not be divided any longer, and you're able to be back with your children where they're home, where they belong. And if you can't get attorney, Vince, I would strongly recommend finding an attorney that is very well capable of fighting for you aggressively that's needed, as well as knowing CPS laws. Because by me, having 5 attorneys years ago, my first attorneys, what they didn't know CPS laws, and I was just like you, Sergio. I didn't get anywhere. But when you find the right attorney, you're gonna know that right attorney because their action is going to speak louder than words, like mine did. And that's when I knew that I was on the right path and my child was returned back home. So I want to also ask you too, because I know we won't, we're dealing on a time frame right now, and I just want to ask you, what is it that you think it will take for your child to be returned back? I know you've already filed an appeal. What is it? What else are you looking to do, or what help do you need to help your children to be returned back home?
Well, just I have to find mistakes in that in my case to put in the brief. That's how, that appeal. That's mainly what I have to do, so they can reopen that case, to get the case reopened. And then because I completed all the programs they told me to do, and most of the things I did, everything they told me to do.
Wow.
I did everything. That they just had um, witnesses against me, and I had no witnesses. It was just my word against them.
Oh, wow.
And so even the judge was pretty mad already. Already, I could tell his attitude. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so unfortunately, it happened like that. But it would take for them to reopen that case, and I know there is mistakes in the case.
Mm-hmm.
When my appealing lawyer, she got my case, and I was trying to contact her for like 30 days, which is like the time that they give you to appeal it. And she
Right.
contacted me like 3 days before the date that we had to turn in the appeal. And she said she studied it and she couldn't find any mistakes, and she made a motion saying that everything was perfectly well in my case, that there was no reason. So she was supposedly she was trying to help me, and so she, I mean, there she went against me.
I'm,
And
I'm sorry. And who was this that
this,
did this?
my second attorney.
Oh, wow.
So there, I mean, I told her, why would you put that you found there wasn't any mistakes? That just goes against me. You're
Correct.
helping me, So it would just take for them to open this case, because I mean, I never did nothing against my children. It was just like a she said, he said thing. You know?
Wow. That is so interesting that you said that. So you saying that basically, because it sounds like to me, if you're saying from the setup, they already had made judgment against you.
They they pretty much they did. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that my caseworker, she already had an attitude from the beginning, like, hey,
Wow.
what, these kids are not supposed to be with you. These kids are not supposed to be with you. And the thing was that the problems that the mom and I had, we weren't together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so they couldn't have known that if the kids were okay, if they could be okay with me or not, if we weren't living together. So
That's true.
so they didn't give me that chance. Hey, how can you say I'm not good to them? And I had the visitations. I mean, they responded well to me and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they my lawyer, she never put any of that into the exhibitions, any of the videos where we had anything. So there wasn't any proof that I
Oh
could
my
see.
goodness.
That was a problem. That my lawyer too, she didn't help me.
That's what it sounds like, Sergio. So basically, like you're sharing that they pretty much already had a bias against you. They've already had a, because to me, it seemed like with CPS, and again, I'm no attorney, but I am a mother that has survived CPS, and my children was ordered to be returned back home. But it seemed like to me, they already see you as unfit. It's almost like, they already have made their decision that you're not getting your kids back, and you have to fight to prove that their decision is incorrect. It's not like starting out from the jump. We're going to give you a chance to see, if, you can get your kids back. No, it's almost like the assumption is already rendered and made as if
you're not getting your kids back. We've already made a decision about you. And if you just have to really fight to get and win your case to get your kids back, because the assumption has already been made. So, wow, with that being said, so you're saying that even when you were visiting the children, it wasn't any type of bad experiences, and no one never documented saying, hey, this parent is meeting with his children. I see something that I don't see anything wrong, or the children want to meet with their dad, or the connection, the bond I'm seeing is healthy, but no one never documented that. They only shared what they found to see. As this is a parent that doesn't deserve to be around this father doesn't deserve to be around his children, and they just went with that narrative.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That there was all these documentations, and none of that got accepted into the. It wasn't put as an exhibit to fight for my case. And then when at the last court, my lawyer, she she was like very nervous
Hmm.
when she recommended that I relinquish my rights, and I said, "What do you mean I relinquish my rights? I mean, so I mean, I have all the proof of information I was giving her, so she could put
Wow.
in, but she never paid. I had a hard time of getting a hold of her. CPS as well. Right now that you mentioned that, a lot of the times they just go with what they judge you from the beginning. Most
Sadly but
most
true.
most
Yes.
most of these caseworkers don't have even kids to know how it is to be a parent.
You just dropped a major nugget, and I hope everyone is listening. Matter of fact, can you please say that again?
Most
Because that's good.
most of these caseworkers, they don't have kids to know what they're doing when
My God.
don't consider none of those things. They just feel like, hey, you know what, um well, the law, what the law is, but the law, you have to follow, we have to all follow the law.
Yes, there are parent rights. We have rights as parents. And let me just also share, just because you don't have kids doesn't mean that you don't know, what decisions need to be made. But anybody know that having children is completely different. Once you give birth to kids, or you have kids and you raised your kids, and your kids are your life, right? They're your legacy. They're going to be what's around when God calls us home. So that's an investment that you care about, your heart and your soul, that I will refer to a whole lot. A lot of times the reason why people go to work is to be able to provide a roof over their kids' head, to put food in their mouths, clothes in their back. So it's a little different, when you personally have an experience of having something versus not. So I do believe that is important, because that you shared that, Sergio, because I've heard other parents come on and say, hey, my caseworker just graduated from college, or, they're at an age right now where they just figuring things out, but yet and still they can decide the detriment of whether or not where my children is going to live the rest of their lives. And sometimes in life, I'm just being honest, it takes some living to do. It takes some living to do. It's some things that in my early 20s and 30s that I wouldn't dare do now in my 40s. It took living, it took experiencing life, right? To go through some things to be able to get a better understanding of what certain things mean. And sadly, people do make mistakes from time to time, but that does not make it where they're unfit to be a parent to their child. So again, I always refer to God. If God had judged all of us on our mistakes, probably no one would be alive right now. But that's the reason why I say thank God for grace and for mercy renewed every morning, because that allow us to get another chance to get it right or make better decisions, right? So with that being said, I think we might have lost Sergio. Technical problems or difficulties. Hopefully we can get him to come back in, but he is sharing a lot of great information regarding his own true life personal experience of what he's going through with his CPS case, which sounds to be something that, oh, we got Sergio back. Okay, good. I just want to ask you, Sergio, because I know we're
Can
pressing
hear
for
you.
time right now. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Sergio? I think the microphone might be a little cracking right now, but can you hear me okay?
Mm, what happened?
I'm just going to continue. But like I said, Sergio is definitely sharing some very great wisdom and true life experiences. This is something that is really happening to him. This is a father, this is a male figure that's on the show today that's taken the initiative to do what it takes to fight to get his children back home where they belong. And unfortunately, what he's saying, he's not the only one. So I hope his story also encourages you, as he's encouraging himself, that sometimes caseworkers do not work out of integrity. Sometimes caseworkers are not doing the work. There are a lot of times they're so overloaded with cases, they're just going off of what they previously heard, and and they're just using that. Sergio, I was going to ask you if you can log back out and try to log back in. That might help you if you can do that. See if you can log back
Hello.
out. Okay.
All right. Something happened there with the
That's
mic,
okay.
and try to fix it. And yeah, I
No, no,
messed up.
no, you're fine. It happens sometimes. Listen, technology things happen. So no, you're fine. We can hear you just great now. I was just sharing that you were sharing a lot of great information about when you're dealing with a caseworker that's not operating out of integrity. Your story is a story where you're sharing that seem like a lot of biases and things that might have not been accurate. They're going off of that instead of giving you an opportunity to get your children back and your rights were, if I'm understanding correctly, were your parental rights, were they terminated?
They were. Yes. They,
Okay, so they were terminated. So now you're in the process currently of getting it appealed. Who is helping you with doing the pay? Do you have help that's guiding you or leading you in the right direction with the paperwork and getting this appealed?
yeah. Well, my friend, she's gone through some of these things too, and
Okay,
paralegal. Her name is Jennifer. Jennifer, and
okay,
so she's helping me with it right
oh,
now.
okay. And let me also ask you this, also that Sergio, with the appeal process, what is it that? Because I know we're pushing for time. What else is it that you have seen being a witness to CPS? What is it have seen and personally may have been shocked by that you think or feel needs to change to help our children get out of this CPS system and be returned back home? Is there something personally that you've witnessed that you know that recommend that needs to change to help families with CPS?
Mainly just that I think well we touched that we talked a little bit about that right now. It's
Hmm.
that the case that a caseworker should have. You know, if a caseworker is not, you have to love people to be able to help people.
That's good.
If you don't love people, you don't love yourself. How can you help a parent with their child?
That's
So
so good.
that's mainly it. Like, I mean, to be able to have that compassion and all those things,
Yeah.
be able to help these people. Some of us, you know, just that's mainly.
You just hit the hammer on the nail. I kid you not, as you were speaking, that's the same exact thing I was thinking. It's called compassion. You really have to have compassion. You really have to have empathy. You really have to see this not just as another number, as another statistic. These are hearts and souls. That's the reason why I try to mention those two words, hearts and souls. Okay, these are real lives that are going through this dark, vicious system, and it's not just another, another day, just another number. These are children. The things that's taking place with children and CPS custody in foster care, this can affect the trajectory the rest of their entire lives. I know people to this day that are in their 50s that they are still sadly negatively affected by CPS. It have left scars. It have left things that have affected them emotionally, mentally, financially, even. So Yeah, that is so good that you said that. And I pray that anyone that's watching, and again, these are for people that are not working out of integrity, right? If you lack empathy, if you lack compassion, it affects the way these children are the rest of their lives. The scoring can be so severe. Gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of people, what I've seen when caseworkers are not operating out of integrity, this money is because they're throwing their power around. It's because they're just going along just to get along, just to please other people, working for CPS. They're just following their lead. They're not being honest about what they're really seeing, that these parents do deserve a second chance. These parents are doing the work. They've done all we've asked them to do. And it takes someone that's bold and that's willing to stand up for what's right, right? And that is the key right there, is having compassion, having empathy. Don't let money, power, and politics and incentives get in the way of that, because you could be ruining these children's lives. So I am so glad that you mentioned that, Sergio, because that is such key. I want to ask you, as we're getting ready to wrap up, if there's nothing else that you'd like to share, because I know we're on a time schedule, with moving forward. But if you don't have anything else to share, can I ask you, once your children are returned back home where they belong, what is the one thing that you are going to do, that your children would enjoy doing to celebrate them being reunified back home with their father?
Just really, I mean, just take care of my kids and love them, and
Right,
just have them with me.
right.
Give them all my time. That our children. That's why God sends us kids to take care of them. Because I mean, He could take care of them, but He loves us, and He wants us to be like Him, like it says in the Bible. He made us like Him.
That's right.
We are we,
Absolutely.
we are able to love, and just so they can love their kids, and just we can all love each other. That's the main thing here in this world, that we do that, these things. There's no other purpose than
That's right.
to do that.
That's so good, Sergio. I mean, coming from a male figure, I know men are normally like, what is it? Y'all are macho and tough and all that great stuff, but it shows that you're vulnerable, that you have a heart. And I can see, and I've heard, we've been speaking to you prior to this show today, that you really have a heart for your children. And that's why you're staying in the fight. And I will be in prayer with you, because I know God can do the unthinkable. I know God can do the impossible. And I've seen Him do it with me in my life, with my family. And I'm a living testimony who you're talking to. It's the same CPS. Well, I won't say the same, but I will say CPS, which is what you're dealing with now. They had pretty much, to me, had made a biased decision and say, "Oh, you're unfit. You don't deserve your children." But guess what? The devil is a liar. Okay, the devil is a liar, and what you meant for evil, God can turn it around for the good. So that's why I want to encourage you, and I would like to stay in contact with you even throughout time, because I want to hear what ended up happening to your story, and hopefully bring you back on again to share your testimony. And I always say, as long as you keep God first, you keep fighting for your children and doing the work, watch and see how God can turn that thing around for you. So again, Sergio, if you don't have anything else you'd like to share, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. You're also helping other families that feel like they're isolated, they feel like they're alone, they can't make it. But your truth coming on today, sharing what you're going through and you're still fighting, that also gives them hope and encouragement to keep fighting for their kids as well. So we thank you for your time. And again, we will be in touch. And again, I just appreciate you for sharing your truth to help these families and get their children back home where they belong.
Thank you for having me, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Absolutely. That sounds like a plan. Thank you so much, Sergio. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our show today. I'm hoping that it has touched you and it has encouraged you like it has did for me, just to hear Sergio sharing his truth, his compassion, his love, fighting for his children, not giving up, right? Life happens, arrows may form. It says that in the Bible. The word tells you there will be trials and tribulations in life, but don't let that get you off track. Don't let that throw you off. Get back in the ring. Like my grandmother, Rosalie Jones, 106 years old. God allowed her to live to be 106. She said, "You might give out, but don't never give up. You know what? Sometimes God gives his biggest fights to his strongest warriors. Okay. So stay encouraged. Please keep God first. Don't ever give up fighting for your kids. Guess what? If you keep going, watch and see. God knows and sees what you're doing, and God can turn it around. There is nothing too hard or impossible for God. So keep God first. Keep doing the work. Keep tuning into this show. Like, share, subscribe. You never know, someone might be going through something that needs to be encouraged. Use this Monday motivation. Use this show to encourage you, to inspire you. Even Attorney Vince comes on and show a lot of gems and nuggets to even help you with, as an attorney, wise legal counsel, to give you wise advice that can help you or someone else. So don't give up. Keep going. Keep God first. Until next time, have a great day.